Entertainment Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 4, Episode 5, and my thoughts on this ridiculous episode. Yes, we are at the episode they have been talking about for I think 2 years now. Oh, dearie, dearie, fucking me. This was a joke. I don't understand why this is an episode of Star Trek. Now, I didn't understand the musical episode either, why that had to be in Star Trek, but okay, they did it. Was it a good episode? Absolutely not. But look, you got 3 good songs out of the episode, and, fine. I can leave it at that. With this, I don't see the fucking point. I don't see how this is supposed to get a new audience. I don't see how this is supposed to satisfy Star Trek fans. I don't understand what this was supposed to accomplish. Like, a part of me was expecting to see, I don't know, Big Bird in one scene or fucking Elmo in another. Like, I thought that's what was going to happen. But no, it was just really crappy looking puppets throughout this episode. But you know what the worst thing about this whole fucking episode is? The ending. And how the ending just makes this episode so fucking pointless. Like, come on. I get it. You kind of need to explain how the fuck this actually happened. Because again, how do you turn human beings into fucking puppets? And how does that make scientific, sense? But to do it that way, Christ, you really fucking just didn't care, did you, writers? You were just like, look, we made a joke episode, let's make a joke ending, and hey ho, who gives a shit? I mean, if you're not even going to try, writers, why the fuck should I? Like, this episode had so many flaws in it. It was ridiculously acted. I mean, all of the actors, especially Spock, knew this was a joke episode. They all knew it. They knew not to take this shit seriously at all. Don't bother trying to make it make sense. Don't bother trying to act normal. Really go crazy with the acting. Really act like children at some points, or act insane at others. And I have to give the writers credit and the director credit for this episode, because I didn't think you could make Pelia any more annoying, but my god, turn that bitch into a puppet and you really want to strangle the cunt. You really do. Oh my god, she was so annoying throughout this episode. It was a joke. Oh my god. By the way, anybody else kind of noticed how she has been missing for a very long time now? I feel like this is the last season I'm going to see her in. I mean, I don't know if there's any leaks or stories out there that she's leaving, but to me it looks like she's on the way out. I mean, she's barely been in this season. So hopefully there's some good news on the horizon and she's going to leave, because I cannot stand that character. But again, make her a puppet. And Jesus, you miss her being a human being, because her as a puppet is just so fucking annoying. But we got to talk about the main character in this episode. Oh, Spock. We thought the writers would give you a bit of a break this season. Or at least I did. I thought they were not going to be such assholes to you. But then they decide, nope. The puppet episode. That's where we're going to get Spock. That's where we're going to make him be a little bitch and an idiot and an absolute prick. In one episode. I mean, what the fuck? Like, Spock just acts like an absolute idiot in this episode. Like, he has no control over himself. The whole bloody, like, he is supposed to be the most knowledgeable, factual, smart son of a bitch on that bridge who has ever been on that bridge. And yet this guy can't exactly do anything smart in this episode. Like Spock, you know this situation is getting out of hand, and you decide, instead of talking to the crew, instead of, figuring out a way of sorting this situation out, you're going to curl up in a ball and basically cry without tears. I mean, then he has a panic attack at one point. Then we got to talk about his feelings and emotions again. And I'm just like, all right, okay, I get it, writers. You're really going at Spock this episode. We really need to get into his, emotions, because something in the early part of the episode happened, and Spock, instead of being, the Spock character that we know and love, he just decides to be a fucking teenage boy who's been dumped for the first time. Sorry, that's a bit too much of a spoiler, but God. I mean, come on, dude. To break down like that because that happened. Calm down. You're a fucking Vulcan. And yes, I get it. He is half human. But for fuck's sake. This was just a bad episode for Spock. Just a bad episode. And the ending just makes it worse. Like, it makes no sense why Spock would do that. It makes no sense why he would dream that. And they do nothing to explain it. Except put a puppet on a chair. And have the ending. Oh, I can't go into that yet, but God, it's just dumb. And then we have to talk about, there's so much wrong with this episode. I don't know if I've got enough time to say it all. I mean, there's a fucking fight scene in this episode which is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And yes, I found it very funny. And then they have another fight scene. And then all the rules that they've just laid out about how puppets fight and how they can't really do that much damage just gets thrown out because, again, they need to get to the conclusion of the episode and just say, fuck it, the puppet's fist can work now and he can actually do damage. I just have this joke fight scene at the end. It's just dumb. I mean, writers, you put in the rules yourself. You've made these people puppets. You said these puppets' punching ability is weak, but then at the end of the episode you just have them punching people and it works all of a sudden. It's just dumb. It is just dumb. I guess I should say what I liked about the episode. I mean, did I like anything? No, not really. I mean, I can say I had a giggle a couple of times throughout this episode, but I just throughout this episode, all I keep saying to myself is, but why puppets? Why am I watching an episode of Star Trek where the crew gets turned into puppets? Why am I here? What's the point? What is the point of this? And someone's going to say, well, it's just to have fun. It's just to be entertaining. It's not entertaining. It's stupid. The puppets look like shit. The jokes really wear thin throughout the episode. It's just beyond a joke at this point. This was an episode that should never have been made. If you want to do a stupid Star Trek not even an episode, you want to do a stupid Star Trek thing with puppets, then do a charity episode, a 10-minute thing with the fucking puppets of Elm Street. We're asking for money for charity. We're going to give this little treat for people so they can give money to children in need or Red Nose Day or whatever the Americans do. This is what you would do for that. A 10-minute thing that means absolutely nothing. Not a 50-minute episode on it. For fuck's sake. And by the way, it makes literally no sense. I don't know why I'm even bothering that, but it makes no sense why that a transport of... Oh, I can't say that either. That's too much of a spoiler. I don't understand how the transformation works, because they don't really explain it in this episode. But it doesn't matter, because at the end, they pretty much throw it away, so it doesn't matter. God, if anybody, unlike me, took this episode seriously, I mean... fucking hell, you must have been pissed at the end, because I sure was. Like, I genuinely tried to take this seriously. Like, I was genuinely trying to work shit out. Like, why they were turned to puppets, how that happened. Like, how... I don't know. I guess I should have taken this episode seriously. It is a puppet episode. But I'm a Star Trek fan. I want to enjoy a Star Trek episode. Why can't we just get a Star Trek episode? Just a normal fucking Star Trek episode. Where they are just a crew on a mission to explore strange new worlds and to speak to new people, new species. Why can't we get that? Why do we have to have stupid episodes like this, like the stupid episode from last week? Like, why can't it just be a normal Star Trek episode? Oh my god, I'm fucking pissed. What would I give this episode out of 10? I don't know. I can't give it a fucking minus because it's not that bad. I did chuckle a couple of times, but it's not a Star Trek episode. Like, it's just not. I feel I'm just going to give it a 0. I can't give it anything more than that. But I feel bad for giving it anything less than a 0. So yeah, 0. Will I ever watch the puppet episode again? Absolutely fucking not. There's no point, and the ending pretty much makes it pointless. So yeah, a 0 out of 10. Let's get to spoilers. You don't want to hear spoilers? Leave in 3, 2, 1. So, the episode starts off with the Enterprise being sent to a quadrant to deal with piracy. Now, whilst the Enterprise is on this mission, some of the crew have a lot of time on their hands, especially one crewman, Scotty, and he's decided to use his extra time to try to break a record to do with a transporter. So there's a record on how far you can transport somebody, and Scotty's trying to beat it because the person who holds that record is an old classmate of his, and he doesn't like him, and he's pissed off that he beat him by a couple of meters or a couple of percentage points or whatever. So he's trying to beat that because the ship that his friend is on is close by, and he thinks he can break the transport record and beam over this ridiculous puppet to beat the record and scare the shit out of his friend, because apparently he doesn't like the puppet. And he asks Spock for some help so he can break this record, and yeah, that's a great use of Starfleet technology. Let's just beat a record and scare the shit out of a fellow officer, because yeah, that makes complete sense. And every starship probably does this. I mean, fucking hell, this is just childish. And the fact that Pike and Spock just allow it. I mean, yeah, you could say, what about the scientific significance of beating a record and, you know, getting a transporter to work even further? Look, the guy's not trying to go like a couple of miles better than his friend or a couple of galaxies far further than his friend. He's only going a couple of more centimeters. That's all he's trying to do. He's not trying to, like, really break through on transporter technology and make it far superior to what it was. He's just trying to get back at a friend to get a stupid fucking record. And that's ridiculous. And when he explains to Spock, and Spock doesn't say anything constructive, like, why are you wasting your fucking time? It's just a joke. I'm sick of this shit in Kurtzman Trek, where where Federation officers act like fucking morons. Now, when you watch Star Trek Enterprise, you kind of forgave that kind of stuff, but it was still a military ship. Like, Archer wouldn't have let this shit fly on his ship. And when you get to, like, you know, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, Voyager, you fucking know Sisko, Picard and Janeway would have never said yes to this stupid shit. But someone's going to say, didn't Janeway let Neelix and Paris do stupid shit? Paris was mainly to do... It was made to do with the holodeck and sometimes if they found equipment, like when he went crazy with that ship that had a woman apparently, and Neelix kind of was to do with the crew and getting food for them. She let things kind of go a little bit far, but never using important Starfleet technology. She was very kind of strict on that, as every fucking Federation captain should be. There's a reason you're given that fucking chair. But as I'm talking about chairs, we then go into the next scene because Spock leaves Scotty to it and heads up to the bridge where we're shown Pike's new chair. Yes, it's a new chair because he needs a new chair because this is going to be the most technological masterpiece on the ship because it lets Pike sit on his ass and do everything from his chair. That's what makes it special. It's apparently a one-stop shop of controlling the entire ship. And that makes sense because who the fuck knows? Yeah, and he just keeps saying, "Oh, I love this chair. Oh, look how good I look sitting in it," whilst he's talking to Una, and she just does not look impressed at all. So, yeah, really worth it, Pike. This chair's so important. I mean, I'm so interested in finding out more about this chair. But part of me was kind of interested because I wanted to kind of know, does it control weapons? But guess what? We don't really get told its entire abilities. We just, we just get a couple of things, but that's it. The chair is pretty much forgotten most of the episode until it's needed a couple of times in the episode. Yeah, kind of a waste of time if you ask me. But anyway, so Una's also complaining about the fact that she's bored. Yes, a commander on a starship is bored, and she's trying to make the captain do a bunch of stupid shit because she's bored. Like, let's test the phasers, let's go look at something. It's like, you're on a mission, Una, dealing with piracy in the area. Yes, the Federation is a science-based fleet, but they do have military duties too. So, why don't you be an adult and fucking find something to do? Because, as I was told in the military, when I was in the army, there's always something to fucking do. Just look and find it. Jesus, she's acting like a child. You're a commanding officer. Just because you're bored doesn't mean shit. Find something to do, Una. It's ridiculous. Again, I'm sick of the fucking officers on this show being stupid or acting like bloody idiots. So the next scene is, Scotty asks Spock to take a shuttle out, put some buoys out there, and oh no, that's not the right scene. That does happen, but the next scene is just dealing with oh yeah, I forgot this scene. Spock goes to see La'an, and La'an breaks up with him. Now, this hurts Spock a lot. Really hits him in the emotional area because La'an is worried about what happened on the Griffin and how it's really affecting her, and she thinks being in a relationship with Spock isn't going to help them, so she's decided to cut him off. And Spock says, well, can we still have our dance sessions because it really helps me center myself and really control my emotions. And La'an just says, nah, I think we should just go cold turkey. And she just leaves and says, hey, why don't you call your ex-girlfriend? Maybe she can help you. Because that's definitely something Spock should do. Because that's definitely going to help him with his emotions. His ex-girlfriend that he left for Christine, and now Christine's dumped him, and now he's gone to you and you've dumped him. So go to an ex. That's definitely that's how you deal with that situation. Oh, oh shit. Yeah, that's how you fix it. It's fucking stupid. But again, she is a Vulcan, so it isn't as bad as if it was a human. So, okay. So Spock says fine and calls up to Prim and says, can you help me? I'm kind of dealing with a lot of shit and it's really affecting me to the point he gets close to a panic attack. Yes, throughout this episode we're going to see a lot of those from Spock, and a lot of the other ones he could have just sorted out by being a smarter person, or being Spock, the real one I mean. So the Prim says, fine, I'll come aboard the Enterprise and help you because you're passing by my sector where I'm studying or doing whatever, and I'll beam aboard the Enterprise, but I have one condition. Basically no funny business, no crazy shit, and I'll come on the Enterprise. I mean, I don't think Spock can guarantee that, especially on the Enterprise, but then he just says, fine, I'll guarantee it, and she agrees. Then Spock goes out on the shuttle with the buoys, sets them up, and then Scotty activates a transporter to transport his puppet to that other Federation ship to scare the shit out of his friend, but something goes wrong. A major transporter accident happens where the entire crew and Enterprise gets transported somewhere. Spock sees this, panics for a second, then the Enterprise comes back. He lands back on the Enterprise. By the way, some really bad CGI in this scene when Spock walks off of the shuttle. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but I did. That CGI in the background, oh, that was awful. Very like PlayStation 2 era CGI. I don't know why, because in the next scene it looks better, but I will. So he gets on the ship, goes up to the bridge, where we see what's happened. Pike gets up and he's turned into a puppet. And the entire crew are all puppets. And yeah, how the fuck did that happen? So they go to the Situation Room where they discuss the situation. Where Scotty pretty much tells them there's been a major fuck up with the transporter and we have a level 5 transporter accident where the entire crew have been turned into puppets. And then, not to Prim, Pelia returns to the cast, and obviously her puppet looks insane and sounds insane and acts insane. So while Scotty is trying to explain the entire situation, Pelia just interrupts every so often to say, oh, that other dude would have done better. Oh, that other dude would have done better. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, what's the point of this? I get it, you're trying to make a joke, writers, but it's just a fucking annoying. The guy's trying to explain why everybody's been turned into puppets, and you have this annoying bitch on the sideline just poking Scotty. And I'm done. I was like, what? Why are we wasting time with this? Why do I care? Why has she been more annoying? Like, you put her in a puppet and now she's a... Oh, God, I hate her. I hate her so much. She is... Well, actually, I was going to say she's more annoying than Tilly, but no. Tilly's the worst. Tilly is the worst Star Trek character ever created, other than Mikey Burnham. Oh, those are the worst. But she's getting close now. I'm sick of that character, and I'm hoping she's gone soon. Anyway, so Scotty explains the situation. They're all puppets. Pike kind of realises, well, we're kind of fucked because the computers need to feel the fingers, and all their fingers are now fur. So how the fuck are they going to fly, steer, or do anything on the ship without, having opposable thumbs and shit like that? They also can't pick up shit, so the Doctor kind of says that's a problem. So how they deal with this? Well, it turns out as Spock is the only crewman who wasn't affected, he now has to do everything. So he goes to the So as Spock has to do everything, he goes to the transporter with Scotty to figure out if they can reverse this quick. Turns out they can't. He then gets called up to the bridge to help Pike with his chair. And then he has to help Uhura put a microphone back in her head, or whatever the fire thing's called. the earpiece thing. And so he goes over to help her, but then he gets called back to the helm to help Ortiz, who wants to steal the ship. Then La'an screams over, I need help with the fucking weapons. And I'm just like, okay, we need to calm the fuck down. Spock can't be everywhere at once. Now, if this was the real Spock, he would have said, I will go to the most important part first. So, getting the helm under control. That should be priority. Actually, the priority should be the captain's chair, since the captain's chair can now control everything. So why the fuck didn't Spock just fix that? If he fixes that chair, he can now control everything from one fucking location. But does Spock do this? No, he just runs around like a headless fucking chicken, trying to do everything, getting more and more frustrated and starts to panic. And then we get another panic attack moment where Spock nearly goes insane, but then calms himself down. And then we go back to the transporter where they try to figure a way of using the transporter to reverse what happened. They use it on La'an first. She then gets transported again, but it turns out it doesn't work. And she then screams, yes! Because she is happy to still be a puppet, even though she spent the last couple of minutes complaining about being a puppet. She is now happy about being a puppet. Now, the reasons do make sense, because as she is a puppet now, she doesn't fear anymore her genes, because her genes are not there anymore. And unfortunately, in the transporter, there was an accident which results in La'an's arm falling off. She is taken to the sick bay, where the Doctor and Christine kind of figure out these puppets are pretty much immortal. I don't know about the age thing. Do they age? They don't really explain that. But other than that, you can shoot them, stab them, cut them apart, and they can still apparently survive. So the Doctor says that he needs to do some more research, but the crew are pretty much okay because they're puppets now. So Spock sews La'an's arm back on. The Doctor and Christine kind of now have to figure out a way to use needle and thread, because as they're puppets they can't really grip well, so they kind of need to figure out if they can, or are they just going to rely on Spock, which is again a bad idea. Oh yeah, I forgot to say it in another scene. In a previous scene, Scotty then realises he needs to figure out a way for the entire crew to use the computers so they're not using Spock too much. And why that wasn't the first priority of the entire crew, I have no fucking idea. Why they just put all their eggs in one basket, that basket being Spock, is pretty fucking stupid. But there you go. So while Scotty figures out the most important thing you should be doing, but decides to do it on his own, La'an and Spock have a little conversation with each other, because, Spock's still hurt about the breakup and still can't really deal with it, and tries to talk to La'an. But La'an says, hey, I'm kind of dealing with my own shit. Yes, I'm happy I'm still a puppet, because again, I'm still worried about the whole situation on the Griffin and how I nearly lost control and how my Geno could have gotten people killed. Now I'm a puppet and all that, blah, 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 blah. And then Spock says, well, I need to talk to somebody about my emotions. And La'an says, why don't you talk to Prim? Because the Prim is also on the ship, and there was a scene where she was on the elevator and she came out as a puppet, which was pretty funny. The puppet looks ridiculous, but it is funny. But yeah, Spock has not talked to her since she was on the lift. He's been kind of trying to avoid her, but La'an says probably the best time to talk to her would be now, to talk to her about your emotional problems, as she's a Vulcan and she may be able to help you. Even though, wouldn't she be also dealing with a lot of shit herself, being the fact she's now a puppet? But okay. So he goes to the Prim and tells her, I'm feeling very emotional right now. My emotions starting to take control. I'm starting to have panic attacks, blah, 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 blah. And to Prim says, well, I'm kind of doing my own shit. And then when Spock starts to panic because he starts getting more calls from the crew to ask him to do more shit, the Prim slaps him, even though she has a puppet hand and he probably wouldn't have felt a fucking thing. But apparently it was strong enough to make a slap sound. Because again, funny. Isn't it funny seeing a puppet slap Spock? Aren't you enjoying this, Star Trek fans? No, we're not. We're not. Oh my god, this is a ridiculous episode. And the Prim just tells him what Spock should have pretty much figured out for himself. Basically, you're doing too much, Spock, and it's starting to fucking affect you. You are trying to help everybody, but ending up helping nobody. Why not try to make a schedule where you actually do the more important thing first, then doing everything at the same time? And Spock says, thank you to Pol, to Pal, whatever the hell her name is. You really helped me. Again, why you couldn't figure that shit out for yourself, I have no idea. But hey, we gave to Prim some fucking airtime. So he heads back up to the bridge. And by the way, when he's told this, he actually doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. He ends up just doing everything again. So he goes over to the helm to help Ortiz again. Where Ortiz is like, I want to control the ship. I want to control the ship. Act like a fucking child. And then you got La'an saying she wants to control her, weapons again. And then fucking Uhura does the same shit with the bloody earpiece again. Spock, can you help me put my earpiece in? Uhura, you can't use the fucking computer, so what's the fucking point? Just put it on the side. And wait. Whilst he's trying to get control of the ship, so maybe they can get the Enterprise somewhere safe. Because again, they're in pirate territory, or a territory that's got pirate activity. And then what do you think happens? Oh, look. A Orion pirate ship turns up and starts to scan the Enterprise. Now, Pike and the rest of the crew kind of realise, oh shit, if they realise we're all puppets, they're going to try to invade the ship. Hey Captain, it's a fucking pirate ship, an Orion pirate ship. Do you really think that's as powerful as an Enterprise, a Federation starship? I don't know why the Orions would even dare come near the Enterprise. But guess what, Pike? You have this amazing technology called shields. Why you never put those fuckers up, I have no fucking idea. You know there's a fucking Orion pirate ship on the way. Yes, it's not gone directly at you. It stayed a bit far because you then have a Uhura saying they are keeping their distance. So why not activate shields and then tell the pirates to stay away? I have no idea. I have no idea. Now, I think they did try to explain this, I think, by saying they didn't have control of the shields yet. So why not focus on getting the shields up? Why have you got Spock trying to go over to the fucking communications area and not trying to get the shields up quick? Because if you get the shields up, then it's an end game. And then the Orions can't do shit to you because your ship's got shields on. Without the shields, you're pretty fucked because then you got to make every excuse under the sun to make sure they don't figure out what the fuck is going on. But then the Orions hail, Pike panics and says, Spock, go to the communications and help Uhura. And make sure not to put the screen on so they see that we're not, and see us as puppets. And so Spock goes over, activates communication between the ships. Audio only, not a screen. And then the pirate ship captain, she then hails and say, hey, we scanned your ship. We only detected one life form on it. How can we help you? And Pike just says, we're fine. Just stay away from us. Don't come near us. And starts to threaten the pirates. Okay, Pike, you got to start acting like a normal captain, not a fucking moron. Like, why you would just threaten the pirates? They would start to fucking notice that. What Pike should have done is say, we're a Federation vessel, you come close to us, we will use force. Please stay away from us, go about your business, blah, 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 blah. Try to calm the situation, not make it worse. But no, he just says, stay away from us or we'll fire, basically. Which is ridiculous. And then, whilst the pirates then start to kind of say, okay, we see that you're all okay, or at least here you're all okay. We'll back off. Somehow, Uhura activates the view screen, and then the Orions see the entire crew are puppets. And then realise, holy shit, we've hit the motherlode. A starship with a fucking puppet crew. Now, whilst the view screen is on, and I, for the life of me, don't understand why Spock did this. Spock then runs around the entire fucking bridge trying to activate shit. Doesn't try to activate shields, but tries to go to the weapons. Kind of makes sense. But then pretty much shows that he's the only fucking crewman who can use the computers. Pretty much given the Orions a visual cue to how fucked the crew are. I mean, you could have blagged this shit and said, we can still control our weapons, we can still control our shields, and we can still control our ships, even though we're puppets. But now you've just shown them you can't, with Spock acting like a fucking moron. I mean, what the fuck? So the Orions realise they can pretty much board the ship without any problems, but to show that they are serious, the Orions fire a couple of shots at the Enterprise. Again, why Spock hasn't tried to figure out a way to turn on the shields, I still have no idea. But then goes over to La'an, and La'an keeps telling him where the torpedoes are, or where to fire them. And so Spock fires 2 torpedoes at the Orion ship, does do a bit of damage to them, and then decides to just stop firing. I don't know why. Why didn't you put more torpedoes into the Orion ship to make a point? Or at least to blow it up so they don't get any reinforcements, at least. But then Spock then rushes over to the helm to try to see if he can move the ship, or at least get the ship away from the Orion ship. Turns out the Orions did a bit of damage to the engine room, so Spock has to rush down to the engine room to help and figure out if they can get the engines back online before the Orions arrive, because they can't transport over, apparently. I don't know why. Did they put shields up eventually? I don't really remember, but anyway. So Spock rushes down to the engine room where Scotty is apparently stuck under a torpedo, and where you have Pelia trying to tell Spock how to lift a torpedo and just being so fucking annoying. But then a couple of seconds later, it turns out Scotty can just pull himself from under the torpedo on his own. So Spock wastes a bunch of time trying to lift the torpedo for nothing. And then Scotty just says, well, I just figured it out, so don't blame me. Such a waste of fucking time. I mean, honestly. Then it turns out that the Orions are now trying to board the Enterprise instead of beaming on. Again, don't know why. If they can get through to the transporter bay, not transporter, to the shuttle bay, why can't they just beam aboard? Makes no sense. So Spock tries to rush down to the shuttle bay to stop the boarding. Bumps into T'Pel, where she's just carrying a bunch of phasers. Apparently the puppets can't use the phasers. It kind of makes sense. So she's just walking with these bunch of phasers. Spock finds her, asks her what she's doing. She says she's going to try to do what she can to stop the Orions boarding the ship. Then Spock says thank you for trying to help, and then T'Pel tells him, well, they probably might not be trying to get through from the shuttle bay, because they do have a tendency, Orions, to make it look like they're invading from one place, but that's a distraction from where they are actually invading from. So it turns out they're on the same level as where the Orions are actually boarding from. And Spock grabs a phaser. Now, does Spock go into cover and then shoot around the corner to try to make sure he doesn't get hit by anything? No, Spock just rushes out into the centre of the corridor, shoots one Orion, or stuns one Orion, and then gets shot by the woman Orion, and boom. He's out of the game. Spock, you're the only fucking member of the crew who can actually use the computers. You should have either one, shot from cover whilst you tried to get back to the bridge, or two, just got back to the fucking bridge and lock it the fuck down. But no, I guess rushing out to the centre of the fucking corridor was just a better idea. So Spock gets stunned, gets taken to a room where the captain of the pirates says, "Tell me the code for the Enterprise or else," basically. And Spock just says, "Torturing me, doing me harm will make no difference. I'm a Vulcan, I can deal with pain." And she just says, "Well, yeah, but I'm going to leave my mate here to kind of deal with you because he's very good at dealing with people like you." And she just rushes off the bridge, where we get, I will say, the only really funny scene out of this episode, where you have Una and La'an try to hold the bridge, or at least stop the Orions from getting to it. They then try to... Oh my god. So, La'an rushes one of the Orion pirates, tries to punch him. Turns out she is a puppet and her fists do no damage, and she just gets thrown at a door, and you have Una, who has just rushed one of the other pirates, starts punching him. It's obvious it's not really doing anything, and she then gets grabbed by the other Orion and then also thrown at La'an. And yes, basically they take the bridge in a couple of seconds because, again, the crew are just fucking puppets. Now, they've taken the bridge. Now, when you've taken a bridge, you usually do something else. What is it? Ah, yes, you take the crew as prisoner. But what does this captain of the Orions do? She lets them fucking get away. And says, "Leave it, that's not going to come back to bite me in the arse later." I mean, I was just like, what are we doing here? You have the ship. You should get the crew as well. Yes, just because they're puppets, they're still what? You can still, I don't know, ransom them to the fucking Federation. Or at least make sure they don't do anything to damage the ship whilst you've only got control of the one bridge. Like, she doesn't come over with 100 men. She comes over with about 5 of them. And one, by the way, is still stunned. So she basically has 6 guys. I don't even fucking know. Why did she come with such a small boarding party? But anyway, so she lets them get away. They then regroup in Pike's quarters, where Pike realizes they need to somehow rescue Spock and take back the bridge, and he's going to do it on his own. We then go back to Spock, where this Orion guy decides that he's going to use a different method to try to get the codes out of Spock. He's not going to use torture, he's not going to use violence, he's going to use therapy. Yes, Spock gets a therapy session in this episode. Fucking hell. I mean, that is original. That is original. I've never seen an Orion do that. Doesn't work, though. It just helps Spock deal with his emotions about the fact he was dumped and how he doesn't seem to be able to keep a relationship going. Okay. Fucking hell. But then the captain of the Orions pretty much tells the guy to bring Spock to her, where we get what I think is pretty much the dumbest scene of the episode. And I was thinking, they're not going to do this. So apparently the mission to save Spock went badly for Pike because he was captured like immediately, and he's about to get airlocked out of the ship if Spock doesn't give the codes to the Enterprise. And we get the scene of all scenes. You all remember the Wrath of Khan? Do you remember when you had Kirk and Spock with that amazing scene where you had Spock sacrificed himself to get the Enterprise away from Khan's ship before it exploded, and where he was stuck in that chamber, and then we had the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and you're my friend. Remember that scene? Well, we were going to get it in this episode. They did try to do it, but I will give them credit, they didn't go all the way. So they were getting close to doing it, but then the Orion captain just airlocks Pike out of the Enterprise, and yeah, we were close to it. He did say the needs of the many, though. But then he's airlocked out of the Enterprise, and then Spock thinks he's dead, and the captain says, if you don't give me the codes to the Enterprise, I will start airlocking more members of your crew. We then go back to Pike's quarters, where the rest of the QC, Pike has been airlocked out of the Enterprise. They all panic as they, what the fuck are we going to do? But then they realise, oh wait, they're all puppets and Pike is still alive because apparently he doesn't breathe air. I don't know why they didn't figure that out sooner, but okay. And then Pike gets back onto the Enterprise, where he kind of realises, hey, we're puppets. We shouldn't be fighting them like Starfleet officers. We should be fighting them like puppets. And then we just get a bunch of fucking scenes, and then of them attacking the rest of the Orion crew. They knock out the guy outside Pike's quarters because they apparently all dress up like a Vulcan, or at least wearing the Vulcan gown shit. I don't know what the fuck it's called. And the Orion says, who the fuck are you? Then drops his, or at least puts down his phaser, and then you get this really ridiculous scene where Pike is on Una and La'an's shoulders, and they just throw Pike at the guy, and apparently his fists work now enough to be able to push him, pull him, and throw him at a wall, knocking him out. They then get onto the bridge. They then have these really weird fucking fight scenes with the Orions, who at no point raise their phasers to these puppets. They just have stupid fights with the crew. You then have this really ridiculous scene where the Doctor has two fucking, I don't think they're knives, I think they're knitting things, and then stabs the Orion in the leg. By the way, apparently the puppets are strong enough to hold a fully grown male Orion. I don't know how that works, but there you go. Then we go to a scene where Spock is still being interrogated by that other Orion guy, who then brings in T'Pel, burns her hand to try to get Spock to give him the codes, but then the puppet T'Pel uses the fire to burn, or at least set alight the Orion, and he just, and by the way, they're in a fucking bar area, and this moron at no time tries to use any of the water that is around him to try to put that fire out. He just allows it to go crazy and pretty much burn himself alive, and just knocks himself out whilst he's trying to put out the fire. We then go back to the bridge where the crew is still fighting with the Orions. Again, the Orions at no point have used their weapons. They are just letting themselves get the shit knocked out of them, whilst the captain of the Orions is still sitting in a chair doing jack shit. And then Spock arrives back on the bridge and then uses Pike as a weapon to throw at the Orion captain, where Spock is able to get onto the chair, and then the Orion captain throws Pike away and says, Spock, this was really useless. We've still got control of the ship. Your puppets are not going to do shit to us, even though one's been stabbed and one's been knocked out, but okay. And says, just give me the codes or I'm just going to take back the ship. And then Pike reveals, well, that's not really true anymore because Spock has gotten rid of all the air out of the bridge, so you're about to fall unconscious. Which she does. The entire Romulan boarding party all fall unconscious. So does Spock. Spock then wakes up with the puppets still being there. They have not turned into humans again. And Spock then asks why, and says, well, we all want to go out for a spacewalk as puppets. I will give the writers credit within this scene because Pelia does mention the fact how they talk in space, because there's no air in space, there's no way of sound to travel. How are they talking? She just says, well, they don't explain it in the best way. They just say, as they're puppets, apparently it just works. Okay. Oh, they also tell Spock that Scotty has figured out a way to use a transporter to turn them all human again. But then we get to probably the worst part of the episode. It all turns out this whole entire event was just in Spock's head. Because Spock then wakes up with T'Prim in his room, and she tells him, you had a very emotional dream. Yes, this entire episode is just a dream episode. So what was the fucking point? What the that I was so pissed off when they said that. Like, seriously. Seriously, that's what this episode is. It's just a dream episode. Why would Spock dream the crew as puppets? Why? Because he saw Scotty with one puppet one fucking day? And why this entire fucking imagined story did Spock really not learn anything? Oh, well, he learned to control his emotions. The fucking guy's supposed to know that already! How is that a lesson? Oh my god, but apparently his dream was just enough to get Spock to control his emotions and not to have panic attacks. And the episode ends with Spock looking at a puppet that Scotty left thinking that would help him. And it looks like he's now scared of a puppet. And that's how the episode fucking ends. This is a joke of a fucking episode. I know this is a pretty long review, but I had to get everything out. This was just shit. This is worse than the singing episode. At least the singing episode had at least a point, at least a little bit of a story. They at least tried to make it make sense. I mean, it didn't do it. It still didn't, but at least they tried. With this episode, they just said it doesn't need to make sense because it's a fucking dream. Fuck you, Star Trek Strange New Worlds writers. Fuck you. If you're not going to take this seriously, then why should I? This should have been a 10-minute charity episode. That's what this should have been. This shouldn't have been a 50 fucking minute episode. It's a waste of fucking time. And it's just so you idiots can say you've done a puppet episode. What's the point? Who is going to watch this again? Who is going to think this is the pinnacle of Star Trek writing? But again, I hear it. It's just a joke episode, entertainment. Don't take it so seriously. I am so sick of that shit. Star Trek episodes used to be entertaining, fun, and informative. They are now just jokes. If it's not episodes just copying movies, it's episodes that are just pointless or dumb episodes like this. This is a waste of fucking time and I'm just pissed off. What is the fucking point? 0 out of fucking 10. Fuck this episode. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this episode, give it a dislike. And if you have any social media, please share this video. And if you have a comment, leave it below and I'll try to get back to it. And if you like my channel and like my videos, please think about subscribing. Entertainment World Soldier. Bye.